All right, kiddos, what's going on? Got another video coming out today, and the reason I kind of wanted to do this is because A, I wanted another video to put out this week. B, yesterday I did the Titans predictions reaction video, and I didn't realize that my boys at Thicc Inc. did a AFC South division record prediction. So I wanted to see their Titans record prediction, and I thought, hey, I want to make another video this week. I would love to get more eyes on their channel because they're two pretty cool fucking people that make great content. Known them, been mutuals with them on TikTok for a little bit now. So everything came together. Figured I'd make a reaction. So I'm saying so a lot. Let me just shut up. Let's get into their Titan record prediction. Let's see if I get upset. Let's see if I get mad. Let's get into it.
The South is on the rise. The AFC South, that is. They've got a lot of young, exciting quarterbacks in their division. And many teams could go in many directions. Do they have multiple playoff representatives? Do 3 teams make the playoffs? Do only the Texans reign supreme thanks to their offseason additions? We're going to answer those questions today with our AFC South record predictions.
Yeah, I mentioned it yesterday. The AFC South is in a very interesting position to where it's been so bad for so long, where you had like Peyton running the division for so long and the Titans kind of being a little bit of a threat, and then the Texans for a year or two, and then the Jags for a year or two, and then like every time there's just one team running shit, the rest of the division is just ass. But now you have a situation in which, like I said yesterday, Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, and Will Levis all have the potential to be top 10 quarterbacks in the league. And every single one of those teams is in a position to where if they play their cards right, they can be really competitive in the next 5 years. Even with like the Texans right now, I think they can be competitive this year. But, yeah.
Off with the lowly Tennessee Titans. And I know my co-host...
Lowly. This dude said lowly, and I can't really argue with him.
Is not fond of the Titans. He thinks they're going to be one of, if not the worst teams in football. I don't want to pull
the worst team in football. I guess we'll get to it.
Well, but I just got that feeling based off the stuff you said this offseason. I don't think they're going to be that bad. They have upgraded their receiving room substantially. Will Levis is getting into his second season with a better offensive line, with not a better running game by any stretch of the imagination, but a running game which demands more of a focus on the passing attack. The safety blanket is gone. We are going to have to find out how good Will Levis is this season. I think he's going to be all right. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be an NFL quarterback. I don't think he stinks the joint up. I also don't think he shatters any records and blows everyone's socks off.
I think that Will Levis, I think a reasonable expectation for Will Levis, with the help that has been put around him, with the offensive-minded head coach, and not only an offensive-minded head coach, the sort of tree that offensive head coach comes from, I think a reasonable expectation for Will Levis is around 3,300 yards and 27 touchdowns, and just try to keep it under 10 picks. I think that stat line is reasonable. I think the accuracy, I don't have a lot of faith in. I think it's very possible that it is in the low 60s. I don't love that, but I think that is the most reasonable stat line for Will Levis, which puts him in the category, as my guy just said, okay, fine. Not horrible, but, closer to a very mid-tier quarterback than a, whatever quarterback. I think he'll have that stat line, but he'll show the signs of being a great quarterback. I believe in Will Levis.
Defense, still going to be good. Probably not that great. Obviously, new head coach, fired a far superior coach in both of our opinions. There may be some organization.
I mean, can you really say that Mike Vrabel's a far superior head coach than Brian Callahan when Brian Callahan hasn't hasn't been the head coach of one game? You know what I mean?
Organizational issues there, But I think the Titans are going to be all right. Not horrible, not great, all right. 6-11 feels fair. Bad team.
I'll let him finish.
Yeah, there are going to be bad teams in the NFL, but not some putrescent pile of dog excrement. They're going to be fine.
Cut.
All right, 6-11, I think is a very reasonable expectation. I showed my record prediction yesterday. I think that 8-9 is a very reasonable expectation, but 6-11 is taking the generous floor that I said Tom Grossi had at 5-12, or I think it was 5-12, and kind of just getting in the middle. I think 6-11 is actually a very, very reasonable expectation. Now that's a horizontal step because we went 6-11 last year, but I really I think Brent Coleman said it best. I think the Titans this year could have that kind of record, but be in a couple games where you're like, oh, this team has something. They just they missed a field goal, or they couldn't compete this year with that team. I think that's reasonable.
That record in half, and then you have a accurate and right prediction.
3-14, 3-14. Really? I'm not going to have the overtop reaction I had yesterday to that same prediction, or even that one. I think it was 2 wins. 3-14. Come on.
And this prediction is going to be heavily based on the fact I just do not believe in the Titans organization as a whole, in their ownership.
I have my problems with Miss Amy. Amy Adams Strunk, the owner, the daughter of the late great Bud Adams. I have my problems with her, and they really stem from firing John Robinson after A.J. Brown torched us. After that Eagles game where A.J. Brown torched us, I felt like that was a very emotional decision. And then when they fired Mike Vrabel, she sent Rand Carthon out to the media while she did an interview with the team's website so that she didn't have to take any hard-hitting questions. She forced Rand to go take those by himself. I have my problems with that owner, but let's see what his are.
They are currently riddled with dysfunction, and I think a lot of their offseason moves show that. They gave
I'll let him finish.
Calvin Ridley, I think, way too much money at this point in his career. He was very good last season, but he did not exactly light the world on fire.
In 1 or 2 years, with the way the wide receiver market is going, you're going to see the Calvin Ridley deal as a good deal. Am I saying the Titans are some oracle that saw the future? And no. But with the deal Calvin Ridley had, yes, it seems like they overpaid him, but you saw what Justin Jefferson got. It's Jamar Chase is not going to be far off from that. All these young receivers, not going to be far off from that. 1 to 2 years, that Calvin Ridley deal is going to look like almost a steal. I don't want to say fully a steal, but it's going to be more along the lines of that than overpaid.
And then they go add Tyler Boyd. Derrick Henry, of course, wants to go play for a team that will actually contend, but they lose the identity of their offense, and they replace him with Tony Pollard, who seemed to lack any explosivity last season, not what we've seen from him in years past.
First of all, Derrick Henry wanted to stay two-tone blue. Let's just put that right there. All right, Derrick Henry, you could say, oh, he was just lying to the media, but from his own mouth and the entire attitude he's had ever since he was drafted here is he wanted to build a winner here. He wanted to stay two-tone blue. The reason he is not on the Titans is because Rand Carthon and that front office wanted to shift away from run the ball down your throat and play defense. And they thought that Derrick couldn't really fit in that scheme, in which I don't think he can either. He needs 30 carries a game to be truly effective in the overall scope of the game. Of course, last night we saw him, get a touchdown and have a few decent runs. But to be Derrick Henry, he needs 20, 25 carries. And with the identity that the Titans are clearly going for, Derrick Henry just doesn't fit that identity. He said lost identity and replaced with Tony Pollard. They're not replacing him with Tony Pollard. They're replacing him with the tandem of Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard in a different kind of offense. It's a false equivalency to say Derrick Henry, they replaced him with Tony Pollard and acting like it's going to be the same kind of offense. Yeah.
So they don't have the identity of their offense. Adding some of those veterans.
I'm just going to reiterate. They are changing the identity of the offense. It's been obvious. They shift away from Mike Vrabel's hard-nosed, run-the-ball defense. They're shifting away from that. They bring in the Cincy guy to get a more explosive offense. It's a very obvious thing, getting rid of Derrick Henry, getting faster on offense, having a running back tandem, which is a more modern version of just having the bell cow that you hand it to 30 times a game.
Veteran receivers feels like a desperate attempt to try and make Will Levis work. You have a first-year head coach.
Are you not supposed to surround the quarterback, your young quarterback, with talent? Like, why is he making it seem like the Titans will just throw talent at him and hopefully he'll work? You're supposed to build a good team around your young quarterback, especially when he's on his rookie deal and he's cheap and you're not paying him a $150 million contract. Like, why is that enough? And this fucking sentiment, I'm going to try not to get too angry. This sentiment went around when the Titans picked up Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. Everybody was like, oh, the Titans are really... If they believe in him, why not give him the best possible chance to succeed by giving him talent that you can afford? Good talent at that. DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley. I know everybody loves to just downplay it. That is a good three. And Nick Westbrook-Akine is a very solid number 4, and we'll see what happens with Treylon Burks. Chig is a great explosive tight end. Like, why do you shit on the Titans for trying to build a team around Will Levis? I get it. You may not believe in Will Levis, but if they do, why are you shitting on them for trying to give him the best opportunity possible? Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. Let's rewind a little bit.
Don't have the identity of their offense. Adding some of those veteran receivers feels like a desperate attempt to try and make Will Levis work. You have a first-year head coach in Brian Callahan. I don't exactly know what to think of that, but all those factors.
You don't know what to think of that, but homie, Tristan, no, you're Tristan, Isaiah just said that both of you agreed that Mike Vrabel is a way better coach. So pick one, pick an avenue. Is it you don't know what to think of him, or it's a mistake to fire Mike Vrabel because he's a way better coach than Brian Callahan? You know what I mean? I'll accept Titan criticism, and I'll combat it as you're looking, but you got to pick an avenue. Because if you can't pick an avenue, what am I to argue?
Combined, first-year head coach. I don't believe in the ownership. The identity of their offense left. They have a second-year quarterback who was not very successful in year one, not overly accurate quarterback. I have the Titans going 3-14. I don't think they're going to be good.
There's also some other stuff I didn't address initially, and you aren't going to address because it makes the Titans look good. They got J.C. Latham, who will be an upgraded tackle. They got Skaronski.
With the best offensive line coach in the league.
He was going to be an very good guard going into year 2, I believe. That's half a solid offensive line. That's an identity. That's someplace you can run the ball where you can have faith in your blind side. You're not going to get absolutely crushed. Their line was terrible last season. It's going to be better this year. They added Snead to the secondary. The secondary was putrid last season. It's going to be better this season. They've still got that big star up front. And those receivers, it's a desperate attempt to make Will Levis work. Yeah, they're still upgrades over what they had. There's still a big improvement at the wide receiver position. It was D-Hop and you and me out there last season. Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley may not be worth the money they're getting paid. We're not the ones paying them, so I don't see why we care. But they are clearly better than where the Titans were at. I don't get how you can say 3 wins.
You're not a big fan of Westbrook-Akine?
Not a big fan of Westbrook-Akine. Not to disrespect Westbrook-Akine by any means. I know he's in the audience out there somewhere. We support you tremendously. We would just not like you catching balls for either of our favorite teams. Speaking of catching balls, the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, and that's the end of that. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine gets way too much hate, and it's because he was forced in the wide receiver 1 position because our wide receivers were just taking shotgun slugs to the back of their head constantly for the past couple of years, and Nick was the only one that wasn't getting injured, so he was forced to play number 1, which he's not, but he's a very solid backup. But I want to point out, I think Isaiah said it, who is the one you were looking at. Isaiah said it, that the firing of Mike Vrabel highlighted some dysfunction. Let me tell you what happened with Mike Vrabel. And this is coming from someone who said it was a mistake. You can go back and you can look at my TikTok and the videos I made around the Mike Vrabel firing. I said it was a bad move. And when the thought of Mike Vrabel being fired, I said it was a bad move. So just giving context to my stance on Mike Vrabel. The reason Mike Vrabel was fired is because his vision for the team and Rand Carthon's vision for the team didn't match up, and they picked Rand Carthon. That's it. There was no massive fallout. There was no screaming. No. Visions differed. Now, Mike Vrabel, the problems that he had, that the fans were getting pretty sick of, and that ownership was getting sick of, is he would blame players for everything. It was never his coaches. It was always the players' fault. He was loyal to his coaches to a fault. I appreciate the loyalty, but when your coaches are consistently screwing up and you're just holding on to them, trying to pass blame to something else, not firing them when they need to be fired, then something needs to be done. And he was hard to work with. He was a very my way or the highway kind of guy. So when it came down to the Tennessee Titans wanted to switch the identity from run the ball with Derek, have him carry the offense to success, and then hopefully the defense holds up. When the Titans front office, especially when Rand Carthon came and rejuvenated the ideals in that building, when it was time to assess whether they just want to keep trying the same thing or go with Rand's plan of rejuvenating that offense and the entire team in general, they picked Rand. That's what happened. When you say it's riddled with dysfunction, I have some problems with the ownership. And like I said, I think the firing of John Robinson was necessary, but at the time they did it was a very emotionally charged decision that shouldn't have happened. At that time, off-season, fire his ass. Right there, no. Right? And I think, yes, that shows Amy made a mistake. But one mistake doesn't equal riddled with dysfunction. You may point to not paying A.J. Brown. That was a totally different front office outside of the owner of the team. Right? Again, that doesn't equal riddled with dysfunction. You want to watch a team that's riddled with dysfunction? Watch the Carolina Panthers. And when you watch the Carolina Panthers and David Tepper, please look me in the face and tell me seriously that the Titans are riddled with dysfunction. Because I will laugh at you. Go listen to the podcast, Red Light Homies. Past episode, we talked about space and meaning and stuff. Go watch that. Go listen to it. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Audible, I believe. And appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let me know what y'all thought of the record prediction in the comments below. And y'all have a good Friday. And have a good football weekend. It's week 1, baby. It's week 1. Enjoy it.